Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Day Darning. As we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today. And what have I been up to today? Well, actually, what I've been up to yesterday, I finished the Baba's You thumbnail art. How is it? It's okay, I'd say. I don't think it's that amazing. I'll be honest. You know, I ran into some troubles when I was doing it. But you know, it's sort of good enough. It's, as I put in the description, I think it's an idea that worked better in my head than actually I could not execute it in the way I quite wanted. But oh well, you know, that just happens sometimes. But anyway, hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 2:39 PM on Thursday, December 23rd, 2021. This may not count as news, but I do have a cautionary tale of sorts. This is it's Crazy Red who's visiting. So let's see if he's actually got some legitimate pieces of art to give us, or not. I don't know. But most of today I spent just kind of like, instead of doing something perhaps a bit more productive, I ended up watching a YouTube channel called Two Step Violin, who I'm not sure I've talked about explicitly before, but I've seen some of her previous videos before because I think it's entertaining. You know, I do like music. To Mega Dance Mountain, pretty sure we've had that one before. I do like music, and of course, you know, I've had musical training, I suppose, when I was younger, but I did not take it too far, I suppose. Too much further. You know, I've done my grade 8 in piano, I've done my grade 6 in violin, and that's about it from as much as I can remember. But that was all years ago. So of course, no, by that I have a sort of like lingering latent memory of how to sort of play the violin. But if you gave me a piece, I'd be like, I probably don't remember how to play that, unless it really is ingrained into my muscle memory, and I'm sure I'd be horribly out of tune. But like, in theory, I could pick it up again quite quickly, because, you know, once you learn skills, it's quite easy. I'm not saying it's quite easy, it's certainly easier than, you're not relearning the skill all over again when you try and teach yourself again, because you've hopefully got that sort of latent knowledge locked in there. My piano skills, I play the piano sometimes nowadays, not nearly as intensely as perhaps I did back in those days when I was doing grade 8 pianos and grade 8 piano, studying for grade 8 piano pieces and all that. But that knowledge is still, I suppose, latently in there somewhere. who particularly knows? But yeah, it's always entertaining, I suppose, to watch, as I always say, to watch people who are very good at that craft, and then people who can explain it, I suppose, dumb it down to people who are not as experienced in the craft. And I suppose I'm at the nice sort of in between, where I'm like, I know enough about like sort of violin playing, I know enough sort of about some classical music to conceptually understand at least the words that they're saying, but perhaps not be able to actually analyse or think of things exactly the same way they do. So it's sort of like I can have it explained to me without like being completely lost, but I can't think of it myself. Or I don't understand it myself. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty entertaining to watch. And you know, like I do love classical music quite a lot, to be honest, you know. Well, I say that, but it's not like I particularly go out and like seek out classical music at all opportunities or whatever. It's more like I like it conceptually. Perhaps might be a better way to put it. Because like I remember we were in this like club back in secondary school, whatever, where we could see things. It was called a culture club, where we can see things like ballets. We went to see an orchestral performance, and what else did we go see? We saw an opera. We saw something else. I can't believe you sold so many fake Birth of Venuses. Is this it? No, I can't tell if that's a legitimate Mona Lisa or not. We have all of these except for this one. Except for this is fake because it doesn't have trees in the background. So I guess we'll just buy the legitimate this one. Because why not? Crazy Red, do better, please. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. No, but I do like classical music and all the or conceptually, maybe like thematically. I like orchestral things and things like that, like what I think I might have been in a minority of people who watched that orchestral performance back in secondary school and found it actually quite fun to watch rather than necessarily quite boring. And I suppose, you know, classical music perhaps isn't as readily easy to get into, maybe. And like, I'm not an expert in classical music or anything like that, so and I suppose it certainly is harder to come at it from a different perspective when my perspective is, oh, I kind of really like it, so there's not much more to it. But I'd imagine it's a lot harder, a lot denser to get into, something which is not as immediately obvious as like some other much more modern forms of music, you know. Because I suppose that's the case with modern music, things of, you know, lyrics, I suppose. It sort of just gives like a another avenue to relate upon to, rather than classical music, which just kind of has only, like, for someone who hasn't been like trained in music, you can only really listen to, I suppose, the piece itself and see what sort of emotions it evokes into you. And honestly, that's kind of fine, I think, you know. Not every single medium, not every single thing, oh sorry, didn't mean to hit my mic there, I was just adjusting wire, has to appeal to everyone in exactly the same way. Some things will hit, some things will not, and you know, you're not expected to learn everything about a certain media form to truly appreciate it or whatever. Sometimes you can appreciate it from the get-go, even knowing enough about it, and sometimes even if you learn more about it, it just doesn't, you know, click with you. That's just kind of how tastes evolve, I suppose. Not evolve, but they just are. I don't really know if there's another way to put it. Necessarily. But yeah, I mean, classical music I always thought was very interesting to get to. It seemed to me like there's so much more depth and necessarily than you might be aware of, I suppose, at first blush. And there's the sort of thing like I was going to be like, the more you learn about it, the more into it you get, I suppose, the more things open up to you. But I kind of think that's kind of how it goes with everything. Even when learning things which are just kind of like adjacent to whatever topic you necessarily learn about. I often think back to, oh hello Isabel, I don't think we've ever seen you get some coffee before. We've actually got different people, it's not just Timmy and Tommy or Cap'n. What have you got to say as well? Hello dear, you know, we're always seeing you at resident services, but you should still visit us more. I don't think I see resident services all that often. It's been years since I've actually had to talk to you about doing something, but hey, you know, glad to see you found some time off to be able to go grab yourself a coffee, Isabel. You don't have to work 24/7, of course. I'll see you later. Yeah, isn't it a bit of a strange thing that Isabel and Tom Nook both work 24/7? Because in previous games they had Penny and Phyllis to cover 12-hour shifts with each other. But having one person work 24-hour shifts 24/7 is a little bit absurd. I know it's a video game and perhaps that's not really the way you're meant to think about it, but it feels a bit much. We should get like, Digby in here. He can cover the graveyard shift or something. I don't know. Anyway, what was I saying? Classical. Oh yeah. No, I was thinking back to this like Zen Pencils comic about which is based on a quote from some scientist or some sciencey person who has like an artistic friend or whatever, and it's called like It Can Only Add, and basically the whole concept is his artist friend being like, you can't appreciate this flower as much as me because of my artistic background. I can appreciate the colour, its shape, and whatever, something, blah, 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 basically saying how his artistic visions can help appreciate it, but then the science friend just goes like, gets really annoyed at this, obviously, and goes like, well, you know, maybe I don't appreciate it exactly the same way as you, but I can also appreciate it. I can appreciate, you know, how the Fibonacci numbers or something appears in like the spiral of its patterns, or something about the reproductive process, I suppose, of flowers, and the miracle of how it grows in photosynthesis, etc, 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 and the entire concept being like, I don't get how me knowing more things can subtract from this. It can only add. Now you might be a bit more like I'm not going to delve into what people actually think about Zen Pencils. I don't know if people actually like Zen Pencils or not. I just like that one comic in particular because it makes me think about it, you know, as someone who likes to be both artistically and scientifically minded, I suppose, in certain aspects. I never really felt like they should have been. They are, or even they should be, or even are, sorry, at ends with each other. I feel like, you know, science and art can go very much hand in hand. A lot of things can go hand in hand. Not everything needs to be so diametrically opposed to each other just because it's different like that, you know? Perhaps this inherent synergy is not much as better, but it doesn't mean that they can't bolster and boost themselves upwards. But anyway, I don't really know what's got to do with violin playing anymore, but the thing I was thinking about is because they took this like music theory test. One of their videos is like, can they get 4 marks on for ABRSM grade 5 music theory test. I looked it up at one point. No, ABRSM is just a British one, right? Hold on, what does ABRSM even stand for? ABRSM. It's based in London, England. I don't know if this is a thing which is taken. It's the Board of Royal School Music. I don't know if it's done all over the world, if it's just the UK. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of like how progression is done, at least in UK with musical instruments. You have to take these grades set by the ABRSM. But the most important part is, if you want to do a grade higher than grade 5, you had to take a music theory, or you had to pass a music theory test. in this case of a grade 5 music theory test, and that's the only theory test you actually had to do. And I was watching him take it, and I was surprised at some things that I remembered, I suppose, because I took that ages ago. I took it when I was like 10 or something. What score did I get? Did I get a distinction? Absolutely not. I think I barely passed, or something like that. Or maybe I got a merit. I can't quite recall. As I said before in the past, I like never tried that hard for higher grades, I suppose, in the music exam. I'm not really sure why. Perhaps music didn't quite speak to me on that level yet. I appreciated like listening to it, but not so much. I didn't. The appreciation of playing it, I suppose, didn't really come till later in life. But by that time, it was kind of, maybe it's because of the lack of pressure from having to, like, you know, practice for exams or anything like that. Playing for myself felt a lot better. I don't know. It's hard to say, and it's not really something I've dissected into much. But I was moderately surprised at sort of things I could remember and how many things I couldn't remember. Because I was just watching them taking exams. Like, damn, at some point I had to know what that even meant. Like, it's weird because I remembered a surprising amount of definitions, or like vaguely what they were, you know. Like I can remember. I remembered basically how to say all the terms they were saying about, but like I couldn't remember the context around all of them or what they meant necessarily. So they obviously both did pretty well. Unsurprisingly, both being like trained musicians who spent a lot of their life doing music. But part of me was like mildly curious. I was like, I wonder how well I would do if I tried to take that theory exam now. Because I often think about it with things like GCSEs. You know, it's been years since I've done GCSE exams. I don't really need to think about them anymore. But oh, hello. Random WhatsApp message. Do I need to pay attention to this? Maybe? No, it's okay. I do not indeed. But I often think about that with GCSEs. Like, what would happen if I tried to take all my GCSE exams now? How well do you think I would do? I'd wager I'd do pretty well at things like maths, further maths. I'd imagine. I'm not sure actually if I'd get as high as marks, because the problem is, at least maths, when I took it, is like it was very easy to get very high marks, like close to high marks. There's very little room for error, I suppose, because like even getting like 2 questions wrong would mean you would lose an A-star, possibly. Because yeah, and when I did, wait, now I'm thinking about A-levels. No, wait, GCSE is way easier than A-levels, so maybe I could get full marks in GCSE. I don't really even know. Do we need to sell fruit? I don't remember if we need to sell fruit or not, so we're just going to sell it anyway and pretend we do. I don't know why we have a random squid as well, but so be it. Of course, because, you know, like I did maths at university, you'd think I'd be able to get like 4 marks on a GCSE maths examination. It would be, if anything, I would probably lose it maybe for like my method, or like not sticking exactly to the way the syllabus wants you to do things, which is like, you know, forgivable in my eyes. But I often think about that and branch into the other subjects. It's like, what about how well would I do at geography in GCSE? You know, I would certainly not do very well, because in geography GCSE you need case studies about specific things, like, oh, you know, you had to do a case study on how like this place responded or implemented flood preventive measures, I suppose, after a flood or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, I can't remember any details of this, or like how some region helps preserve its forest from deforestation or something like that. And I don't know, I'm just making it off the top of my head, and obviously it doesn't make sense. Obviously I would not do that particularly well in case studies, but, you know, like, how much could I remember about, you know, how like rivers are formed? It's like, if it described how Oxbow lakes are formed, I could kind of remember that, you know, because of a sinusoidal flow or something, or helicoidal flow, that sounds right, from a river leading to like, what's it called, like sinuous motions or something, cause the river to like weave in and out and meander about or something, and eventually like it causes like extreme curves in the river or something like that, and then what happens is like a flash flood happens, or like an increased surge of like, so anything that increases the amount of water flow through the river, which would cross over the two narrow points of a river and then leave an Oxbow Lake, as the river has now created a shorter path, I suppose, for a river to flow into. That's how Oxbow Lakes are formed. Like, I can vaguely remember and like sort of put the pieces together to that. And I always wanted to be like, I think it would be an entertaining video at the very least to be like, I wonder how well I would perform at doing some of these examinations now. Like, I'll tell you now, I would be absolutely terrible at history, because I cannot remember like so many of the facts anymore. I'd be able to read a question and understand what question's saying, but I would be like, I would not remember how to answer it in the slightest. Which I guess is kind of a, not necessarily kind of a point, but it's kind of expected when you stop practicing that subject, eh? But that's an even more interesting. Like, how well would I do at a music examination question now? I would do utterly terribly, I would imagine. We need to grab stone stools. We need to... What's the easiest, like... I guess we can grab some wheat. Wheat. That's 8 in French. And we'll make some flour or something. That's probably the easiest recipe for us to make. We also need to get some stone. So we're going to hop back into our house. Put some stuff away and grab some stone so we can make a stone stool. Hopefully no one visits us. But if they do, then so be it. What else was I going to say? There's something else I wanted to add on to this, but I can't exactly remember what it was anymore. It's kind of just gone from my memory. Oh yeah, I feel like it would be interesting to see how well or poorly I suppose, I would do at like a musical exam. Because that's obviously something which, you know, it's a different set of skills and it's something I did outside the scope of skill. Not skill, school. It's something I did in my own time. Like obviously I would not be able to play any pieces like off the bat, but like what if I like practice for it? I would wager, but I could if I tried, if I put the equivalent amount of hours I suppose as I did back then, I think I could actually probably get a better score in my music exams, because in my music examinations I didn't get that high scores. I think the only merit I ever got was in like one of my violin exams, and I don't remember why, and I'm not really sure why. Perhaps because at some point yeah, I don't know. Perhaps actually performing the pieces never quite drived me, and perhaps the examiners, they pick up on that. They're just like, oh, you know, the emotion's not quite there, and I'm like, fair enough. Perhaps it wasn't. Perhaps it wasn't. I don't know. But I reckon now if I tried it, where are recipes? Wait, hold on. How do we cook food? Is there not like a food division? Oh no, we need a place to cook food. We had to go on over by Raymond's house. I forgot you had to do it at like an actual cooking station. That makes sense, you know. It's not like you can use a wooden craft bench to actually like make a pizza or anything. Can you use a butter churn? Butter churn doesn't even interact when you use it. Shame. Let's make something. We're gonna just make whatever we can make, which hopefully is just a load of flour. Prep some flour. Done. I don't know if we needed more things. No, you only need to cook one thing. There's so many other things we could cook, but we just never will. Because I can't be bothered at this certain stage. We should certainly do group stretching exercises, because that is something that you actually unlock stuff if you do it 50 times. And we've done it maybe 5 times now. No, but musical theories are very weird examinations, and I suppose it was almost nostalgic thinking back on the actual musical theory exam I had to do. I remember like I made friends with some like random other guy who was doing it, and I remember we both finished really early. And I just like spent the rest of the time like continuously checking over my work, and I still didn't get full mark. I still made like grievous errors, because there's like one part of exam where you have to, I think you have to like write in a scale or something. And I feel like I remember for my one I had to like write in like the D flat major scale, or maybe it was D flat harmonic minor. I can't really recall exactly what it was, but you had to write in one of the scales, and I remember being like, oh, this is such an easy question, like I aced it. Because to be fair, that part is pretty easy of the exam. You just had to know the key signature and then write it in. But then I got like 2 out of 10 on it. I'm even thinking back now, I'm not sure how I messed it up, but after watching them do it as a video, there's a part where it's like you had to make sure you don't put the key signature in, but you had to put the accidentals. What I probably did is I probably just put the key signature in and completely disregarded it. So I technically did write it. It was with the flat major scale or whatever, but I just did not like read a question at all properly. Which, to be fair, I was like 10. That was like even before we started taking like proper examinations or anything. So perhaps it's no surprise that I didn't quite have good exam technique back then. But I remember that there were some interesting parts. Like I'm trying to remember what other sort of like questions I had. My favourite one that I've always had to do is when they had like a 4-part like harmony, or the 2-part harmony, and you had to compose it in one and write it in one or write it in the other. So you had to turn like a piece of music which had 4 parts into a piece of music which only had 2 parts, or the other way around. It was like writing, I guess, a choir piece, because it had like soprano, alto, tenor, bass, from what I recall. Dun, 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 dun. I'm trying to think what else I remember. Also, Mabel, Sable, aren't you cold? Give Mabel and Sable some actual clothes instead of just an apron. What other sort of questions that you had to do? But there's lots of parts I don't remember. There's parts about like having to name like certain chords and things like that. They like give you a piece of music and it's like, where is like name the type of chord which is played here, and I was like, oh man, I don't remember any of this. Like I remember conceptually, you know, the number is determined by like what number on the scale it is, but then you got like, I don't really remember. Like the major one is just like kind of everything's like at perfect thirds away from each other. I can't remember. And then like a minor is just when the third note is like an incidental, an accidental. What are they called? I can't remember. I don't know. I was thinking about it. I was like, I wonder if I'd be able to recognize it now. I'd probably be able to recognize the number, but I probably wouldn't be able to recognize what type of number it was. Because you know, there's thing like major, minor chords. There's augmented, diminished chords as well. I don't really remember the difference to them. But presumably in grade 5 it doesn't go that crazy. There's also things like you had to name like the ornaments. I could not name the ornaments. I don't remember any of them. I remember a trill. That's like a squiggly line. There's like a caesura or something, but I don't remember what that is. Hold on. Did I just make it up? I think that's a thing. Caesura. Is a metrical pause or break in a verse where one phrase ends. Okay, well that's not really an ornamental, I suppose. We will, I mean, I guess we'll head over to Harv's Island. We don't really need to do anything there since Crazy Red's here. Not going to talk to you, Raymond, sorry. I need to see other things. I need like ornamentals. Oh yeah, there was another thing where they were just like, I'll transpose this entire thing into like the tenor, the tenor clef or something. The tenor C clef, and I was like, what the heck is a tenor C clef? I remember the alto clef. I remember the tenor G clef. I was like, what the heck's a tenor C clef? So yeah, I would definitely not be able to do that. I don't know. I'm not sure it's quite right to say it was nostalgic looking at examination, because I don't think it was quite nostalgic, but it was like interesting just trying to think about how much of it I remembered. I've worried about sort of in the past now. I don't need to do grade 5 theory technically ever again, I suppose. Not that I particularly wanted to do or anything like that. But I feel like I remember parts in which didn't actually come up in their examination, where you had to like compose a piece or something. You had to like compose a piece or something, starting on. They told you like what key it was in or something like that, and what like cadence you needed at the end. I don't quite remember off the top of my head, but I could have sworn it was something like that. But they did not have that as a thing we had to do, and I was like, huh. I wonder if that's just something that I had to do. Not like me personally, but like maybe they took it out of the syllabus or something. I'm not sure, but they also had interesting other things, because they had questions on the examination about like violin pieces. They had like a violin bowing mark, which I only know because I of course played violin. When it was like a down bow mark or something. And they were like, and the music question was like, what does this symbol mean? I was like, what? I don't remember having to learn violin stuff for the examination. Not that I particularly have to, because, you know, I know how to play the violin, I suppose. But maybe that's because it was a grade 5 violin theory test. I don't really know if there was a difference. All I remember is there's 4 types. There was like A, B, C, and S or something. There was like 4 different examination papers, and it rotated throughout the years. And I remember C was the hardest one or something. I think S was the easiest. I don't really know the difference between them. I don't know if that's still a thing. Part of me's kind of curious to look it up. Hold on. While Katrina looks up our thing, hopefully it's something bad, so she can actually cure us. But it never does, never mind. Theory exams. Music theory exams. ABRSM. Music theory is grade 1 to 5. Summary. Syllabus? Marking criteria? Grade 5. Irregular time signatures, tenor clefs. C centered of 4 line. Yeah, I had no idea what the tenor clef was. I was like, what? Centered of a C line. I was like, what? And the 4 clefs in any other key sets of a grade. I don't remember having to learn that, but maybe I did. Scales of all major and minor keys, up to and including 6 sharps and flats. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. I don't remember that, but it's like when you put the bottom note on the top again, right? And then the second inversion is when you put the 2 bottom ones on top, something like that. It's been a while. More terms and signs. Damn. To think I had to learn all of this at one point to do grade 5 theory. And now it's all gone. But obviously it makes sense. Like, why that be a thing? Like, if you want to get into musical high levels of music, it certainly makes sense that you had to understand the musical theory behind it. Like, I suppose you could be, but as I say, it can only add. Or as that person said, no, I should look it up. Look up again. Is that actually a thing? Did I make it up? Zen pencils, it can only add. Richard Feynman on the beauty of a flower. That's it. I guess it was Richard Feynman who talked about it. I don't understand how it only adds. I don't understand how it subtracts. There we go. It can only add. I suppose by like learning a theory, you can only add to your music playing. And it certainly seems something which definitely goes much more hand in hand with each other than I suppose other unrelated subjects might be. You know what was interesting in my mind was this comic. They have the artist and the scientist here. I remember them as the artist and the scientist, but the other way around. I thought the older guy, who I now realise is definitely meant to be Richard Feynman. I thought that was the artist. No, not the old guy, the taller guy. I just looked at the artist. The artist is definitely the older one of the two. I don't really know where I was going with this entire thing. I don't even know what I'm going to name this episode. Do we clear out all the flowers? I think we cleared out all the flowers. Okay, well, we've got 3 minutes or so to get some more things in. Make a snowman, dung beetle, hot item. Oh, we need to have a hot item, and let's plant a tree. I think that'll probably be the easiest ones we can do. As of right now, I don't know, music theory. I don't really remember a lot of it. I remember cadences as well, you know. Perfect cadence goes 5-1. Imperfect goes 1-5, because it sounds unfinished. Then like diminished cadence goes 5-6. Wait, is that right? No, wait, it's not called diminished. It's called like interrupting. Or no, deceptive cadence goes 5-6, because it sounds like it's going to go 5-1, and it sounds like it's going to resolve, because that's what 5-1 is meant to be like. It sounds like going back to the dominant chord or whatever, and makes it sound like resolved and finished. But then it goes 5-6, and it goes like, ooh, change up. You got tricked. And then there's like 4-1. That's like a frugal or something cadence. I remember you had to do that in like the oral theory exams as well. They play something. I was like, what cadence was at the end of that? And they're like, why do you say that one? And I was like, because it sounds unfinished. Oh, I remember the worst part of those oral examinations is you had to like, they play you a piece and you'd have to, like, it's worse personally for me because I was certainly no good at it. I didn't really understand. They played you a piece and you'd be like, what era did this come from? Was it hold on, was it Baroque, classical, romantic, or modern? And I was me at the time, even I still don't remember now. All I remember, the only thing I remember is apparently in romantic era they used excessive use of like the sustain pedal or something. I don't know if that's true or not. Don't take it as like fact or anything. Then Baroque had like a lot of staccato things. Is that right? And I don't know. And it was never properly to explain to me what things came into what era. So I remember I just guessed, and you had to remember these four different composers, because they'd be like, what era do you think it's from? And what composer? Who do you think? Can you give a name of a composer you think might have composed it? And I had no idea, because I obviously had no interest, I suppose, at the time. Well, I guess it's not classical music, but any sort of classical in the grouping as non-modern, I suppose. Okay, well, that's another era. You know what I mean. Sort of music rather than necessarily that era. And you remember Bach, Brahms, Beethoven, and Britten. All classical, Baroque, classical, romantic, and modern. I remember my grade, I think it was my grade 8 piano exam or whatever, played a piece and I was just like, I don't know. It's very legato, it's got a load of sustain pedal. I was like, I don't know. And well, I didn't say I don't know. You know, you had to act confidence. You'd be like, I think it's a romantic, from the romantic era. And they're like, oh, why do you say that? I was like, I think the heavy use of a sustain pedal and the legato flowing movements sits for much more emotional and melodic. I don't know. Pieces of that era. I have no idea if that makes any sense. I might have just said a load of gibberish. Maybe I got 0 marks on my part. I don't know. And the examiner was like, okay, so what can you give me a composer you think might have composed it? And I said Beethoven, which seems a little bit like strange, because I feel like Beethoven's pieces are probably very well recognised, and I'm pretty sure it was not a Beethoven piece. But it's not like I knew any other romantic composers. Yeah. You know, especially at the time, I was like, ah, damn, how can these examiners give me such low marks or whatever? Well, not low marks, like, it was still passing, mind you, at the end of the day. In these, in my examinations, but, you know, looking back, yeah, they could probably definitely tell I had no idea what I was talking about. I had no idea what I was saying. Oh, we didn't go to Captain's Island. Nah, who cares? We don't really have anything to do at Captain's Island anymore, I'll be perfectly honest. But we'll round up this episode here, and I'll probably record a Happy Home Paradise episode just after this. Just get another pre-recorded one, even though I don't technically need it, but it's nice to give myself a little bit of leeway, because I'm sure I'll be tired on the next day anyway. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.